June 24th, the 2-minute drill. We're starting off with this one. I'm still a little torn, so we'll see what you guys think. The best trio on offense in the NFC South. Solly, you're up first.
Guys, I got to go with Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. Let's face it, we know what Tom Brady brings to the table. He's the GOAT, right? I don't think there's any explanation that's needed there. But when it comes to this wide receiving core, we've said so much about them this offseason. We also have to look back to our PFF grades from one season ago when we had this wide receiving core graded the highest of any in the National Football League. They also produced more explosive plays at 15 yards or more than any other wide receiving core and more touchdowns. It's not even close, guys. I got to take this trio as my triumvirate.
I do love Tampa, but I'm going to go with the Saints, actually. If you look at what Breeze to Thomas, what they've been able to do since 2016, they've had the second most targets in the NFL by a quarterback-wide receiver duo, and they've completed over 80% of their passes. That's ridiculous. And then you look at what Sanders brings. I think we're underestimating what he brings to the table. He went to San Francisco last year and really kickstarted that offense that was mediocre at best at the beginning of the season. He gives another number one wide receiver to pair with Michael Thomas. I like that group.
You guys are just sleeping on my Falcons, and that's okay because we don't want any of the fanfare. We're here to win this year. Finally, it's been too long. Let me tell you something about Matt Ryan. He might be the most undervalued quarterback in the NFL, and he's probably the quarterback I have the most faith in this entire division because I don't have a Tom Brady coming to a new team. I don't have a Drew Brees who's getting way older. He was top 7 last year, despite the down year, still top 7 for clean pocket, and he has the best receiver. For 1 year, I know he might not be for 5 years, but for 1 year, Julio Jones, highest graded wide receiver since we started grading back in 2006. So you give me that duo, and then you throw in Calvin Ridley there, a guy that I think will break out this year. That's the trio that I have the most confidence in that entire division.
You see, Ben, George is taking the bait. He doesn't know that the Falcons can't stand prosperity. We know about how they.
I know, Solly. My pocketbook feels it too.
Yeah, and even last year, when everything was going good, they played poorly. When everything was going bad, they said, we got to save the coach.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me, please.
All right, well, our next question, I think it's a really good one. Okay, I want to know, which coach would you rather have in the NFC East? Is it Doug Pederson or is it Mike McCarthy?
Well, the story around McCarthy this year he took off was that he's embracing analytics. He came to our office, so hopefully that's true. But I'm going to go with the guy who we already know does, and Doug Pederson. He goes for it at fourth downs at one of the highest rates in the NFL. He uses the quarterback sneak, which is really underutilized in short yardage situations. And he might not be on the same level as Shanahan and Reed as a play caller, but neither was McCarthy at the end of his tenure with the Packers. So I'm going to go with Pederson edging out Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, that's tough. I love Doug Pederson, especially because of his willingness to accept that you should go for it on fourth down. He does so. I mean, until the Ravens showed up, it was Doug Pederson right on that throne. And I have faith in McCarthy bringing some of that to Dallas. But where I really have faith in him and why I'm going to take McCarthy here is you only get a few fourth down decisions a game, but you get a lot of second and long decisions in every game. And Mike McCarthy, I have more faith in leveraging the passing game in Dallas, whereas Doug Pederson has a tendency to like to lean on the run game in those early down, long yardage situations, which is one of the worst times that you can possibly run the ball. Now, he does do some other really good things. Don't think I'm a Doug Pederson hater. I think this one is very close, but I'm going to buck the conventional wisdom that it's Doug Pederson and go with the new guy in Mike McCarthy.
I'm not bucking conventional wisdom. I like conventional wisdom because it usually works out. When Doug Pederson goes for it on fourth down and uses the Philly special to beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, our business goes through the roof. Our stock goes up, right? But go back to just last season where he had arguably the worst wide receiving core that we've ever seen, and yet he goes out and win a division title. That wide receiving core, they broke fewer tackles last year than any other wide receiving core in the National Football League. Only 7 tackles broken last season. I've seen some statues make people miss more than that wide receiving group. So Doug Pederson is a guy that knows how to leverage to win games, even though he doesn't quite have the talent He's done it before. I think he's going to continue to do it again.
I'm so low on Mike McCarthy Island. I love it.
I had to leave you so low on that one. So I wrote a piece on ESPN.com ranking the top 32 rosters in the NFL. Thank you. 1 to 32. I'm going to leave my team for last, but who would you put as the best roster in the NFL, George?
Yeah, and I think you're wrong. So I'm going to take my clapping right back. I think we'll get to your team in a second. I think you ended up being a little bit of a sucker for youth. The best roster in the NFL right now, it pains me to say this, but I think it's the New Orleans Saints. And the reason for that is they're so well-rounded, but especially in key positions. And I think, when you look at wide receiver and quarterback, those are obviously so important. You talked about the addition of Emmanuel Sanders. That's the best number 2 that Michael Thomas has had. Alvin Kamara is amazing. I know we don't talk about running backs a lot, but I'm not sure there's a running back that is more potent when he's healthy than Alvin Kamara. He was hurt all of last season. You have 2 stud tackles, and then they've invested in young players on the coverage side of the ball, Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams. So I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints, even though I think that top 4 or 5 is really close.
Yeah, you know what? The Saints aren't even the best team in their division because I think it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And how do I know this? Because I do trust that Tom Brady knows how to pick a team, right? When he had his chance to pick a team this offseason, he chose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's why we're all excited about it. We already talked about the wide receiving core. They're loaded there. They're loaded at the tight end position. Even Gronk wanted to join in on the party because they already had 2 players who can really get it done. We know about Tyler Johnson joining what is already a good wide receiving core. But defensively, this was one of the best defenses for the second half of last season. We know they can get after the quarterback with Ndamukong Suh and Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea. The linebacking core, you throw in Levante David and Devin White. The secondary, I think, they have emerging stars. Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, and now we're going to add Antoine Winfield Jr. to the mix. This is a roster that's bursting at the seam. However, it's a for right now roster as long as Tom Brady is there. So I'm all in 2020.
Clearly, I mean, that was all the time we have. Ben, do you even have any time left over?
I'll be a sucker for youth, but I went with the Baltimore Ravens. And if there's not that many holes on that roster. On offense, you could say wide receiver, tight end, but they have Mark Andrews, they have Marquise Brown, 2 of the better young emerging talents, receiving threats in the NFL. And then on defensively, they built from back to front. They have an elite secondary, added Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison in the draft, brought in Calais Campbell, one of the more underrated defensive linemen in the NFL. I think this roster is really strong front to back, and they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFL next year.
Yeah, the wide receivers are what worried me there. I'm as big a Hollywood Brown fan as there is, but you're asking a lot of that guy, man. I mean, he's got to be number 1, like with a bullet. So good luck there.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.